got another article we can talk about. I mean, we're here on a Zoom call, so I thought a Zoom article would be appropriate. There was an article in CNBC entitled "Zoom Revenue Grows 169% during the quarter, and the company doubled its revenue guidance for the year." And so, to be clear, I thought the headline was a little bit misleading, maybe just because it was growth was compared to the prior year. So they're saying that in the quarter that finished, the trailing 12 months for that period compared to the prior year was 169. It wasn't that growth in that one quarter all alone. And so let's see, shares still dropped like 4% in after hour trading because on a conference call, they admitted that they had a higher than average computing costs. And so everybody's beliefs about how much earnings per share there would be didn't really hold as the business changed scale. And so they did one interesting thing. They gave all employees a one-time bonus equal to 2 weeks of pay to try to help them deal with the whole coronavirus situation, I guess. And then finally, one other interesting thing I found in the article was that they claimed they had 769 customers who paid over $100,000 for Zoom in the trailing 12 months. And I thought that was really interesting because I actually didn't realize that Zoom sold plans that were that large. I guess it makes sense. It's probably scaled just to the user base. But I don't know. Did you guys know that anybody could pay that much money to Zoom, any single company?
I hadn't thought about it, but I guess it makes sense that at the enterprise level, if you're using all the bells and whistles, you could be paying quite a bit.
Well, I'm surprised, Charlie, you didn't mention that Amazon has implemented Slack. You know what I mean? Or was it Slack or Zoom? I forget. Oh, Slack. Was it Slack?
I'm not sure. I saw something about Facebook. There was a Facebook alternative that they had tried to push that was supposed to be the answer to it. And I know that Google is also coming out with a video conference thing. So that was the other thing I wanted to talk about, is whether or not you guys felt like this meteoric growth was kind of sustainable, or whether or not these other alternatives are going to overtake it in popularity soon as it deals with some of those growing pains of, growing revenue that quickly.
Well, I mean, the quote, Gary V, probably brand is everything, right? And right now, Zoom kind of has like the video market like kind of sewn up. But I mean, it's not as if there can't be competitors here. If you look at like Spotify with the Joe Rogan deal, they're moving into like a video delivery system to be able to accommodate his like live YouTube, what is the YouTube podcast right now. So I mean, and Slack just did that deal with Amazon. So it's possible that they would roll out like a video conference feature. And then the real reason they were talking about Slack and Amazon teaming up using AWS was trying to compete with the Microsoft Azure or Teams or whatever it is that Microsoft launched to try and get into this game as well. So, and there's the ever-present Alphabet or Google companies that have the capital and the infrastructure to be able to deliver something similar in some kind of form. So I think, if Zoom alone, I mean, if they can capture on their brand and be the iPhone of video conference chat, so be it. But I think brand wins out here, I think is what I'm trying to say. I have to agree with Gary V on this one, because you're talking about a commodity at this point.
Yeah, I think that's right. It is a brand play because some of the things you mentioned, they already exist. Google already does have a video chat platform. They predating Zoom, and it can be used functionally, and people are choosing Zoom. Zoom has become it's like a verb, right? I mean, people are it's ubiquitous, and people are using it, and I think that's a classic power of brand is when, exactly as you said, you have something that is mostly, in my opinion, a commodity. I think there's probably some people out there that would maybe argue, oh no, Zoom for sure has these features that the others don't, and that makes it head and shoulders above the rest. But I think functionally, to me, it feels like a commodity. I think we could have a discussion like this on Skype or Google. You mentioned, Slack actually has video conferencing features already. And you mentioned the Microsoft's competitor with Slack, Teams is kind of, I'm seeing a lot in the business community, people tell me that they want to connect via Teams. And I think that's kind of the Microsoft equivalent to Slack, which also has a video feature to it as well. And so, I mean, it is, that's right. It is Zoom's win here is becoming the easy to use branded platform that we now, instead of thinking, oh, let's have a video conference call, we think let's have a Zoom. And, that's good for them. That's where they're winning, is on creating massive brand awareness in a technology that otherwise, like you said, would just be a commodity uh, going forward.
Actually, it's interesting, kind of the parallel. I used to be in construction, and if you talk to like I don't know, average day construction workers, a reciprocating saw is a sawzall, because that was the brand name of the first one that came out. Or a skill saw, well, that was like the Craftsman skill rotating saw, but it's just a circular saw or whatever. But instead of calling it, it's called by the name brand of, I guess, the most iconic one, or the one that was known the best. And so I think you're seeing kind of that same cookie cutter thing applied to now apps and technology. It's kind of same story, different years.
I've heard in a marketing class long ago that this can also go the other way. I don't know if you guys have ever like heard of this or seen this in action, but I've heard of like Xerox, I guess, was famous for learning, they did the same thing where basically everybody was going to say, okay, go ahead and Xerox this over to me or whatever. But they found that it became so ubiquitous that it started to just mean anything, and they didn't feel like it was accomplishing their objectives anymore. And there was a few other good examples. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but yeah, Xerox was one. And I think it can go too far in the other direction where it stops even meaning the original thing, but I guess that's Zoom isn't there yet. Nobody's saying Zoom me to mean Skype me. So, yeah.
Like, seize the moment.